sound a little fishy, particularly one expedition that went there, and everything worked except the cameras on the expedition. They came back with tape recordings of a sound that they think maybe this creature made, but I get a little. But still, to have the natives point to this picture as being the Mokele Membe that they're afraid of out there, this thing is kind of, they say it's rather passive unless you bother it, and then you don't want to be near it. So it's an interesting idea. Yes? This is November 1980, and it's, Science 80. I think it's volume 80, but it's November 1980. So, interesting. But there's some more interesting stuff yet to come. And this is one of the more interesting things, and this is the legend of the Thunderbirds. Supposedly, there have been native sightings and stories about pterosaur-type creatures in the American West going back just a few hundred years. Here's one account, a Sioux Indian account, of a pterosaur-type creature. Now, that's a pteranodon in this picture. This is also a computer-generated picture from an article in Creation Ex Nihilo. And I like overheads, but when you got a whole bunch to dig through, it gets a little awkward sometimes. These are the pterosaur-type creatures, the flying reptiles. And there are legends of these things being sighted just a few hundred years ago in the American West. And here's one Sioux Indian account that goes one day, and this is the actual Sioux Indian account. One day long ago, before the white man came to America, a party of Sioux Indian warriors were out hunting. They had left their village far behind. Before they realized it, the group of braves found themselves alone in the barren rocky badlands of the west. Suddenly the sky darkened, and there was a clap of thunder that shook the earth. Looking up in terror, the Indians thought they saw the shape of a giant bird falling to earth. The band of hunters traveled over the Badlands for days until they came at last to the spot where they thought the giant bird had fallen. Nothing was left of the terrible creature but its bones. The Indians shuddered as they looked at the monster's fallen skeleton. The bird had fallen so hard that they thought that its bones were partly sunk in the rock, but the braves could see that its wingspread was as big as 4 tall men standing on top of one another. And remember, a pterosaur wingspan could be up to 23 feet. The strange creature had fierce claws on its wings as well as on its feet, and the beak was long and sharp. There was a long bony crest on its head. The Indians knew that they had never seen a bird like it before. So if they had actually seen a pterosaur, or a pteranodon is what they're describing here, type creature, apparently they hadn't seen it before. It wasn't terribly common. But is that a sighting of a pterosaur? Now I'm going to give away another secret from one of our safaris. And just because I'm going to show you the picture doesn't mean you shouldn't do the safari next time we do the Moab 1 safari down in Vernal. But we hit the Black Dragon, which is in Black Dragon Canyon, part of the San Rafael Reef, which is west of Green River. If you want to see this on your own, you can stop at the Green River Museum and get directions. They'll give you a photocopy of how to get to this thing. If it's wet and rainy, don't go. You won't make it. But if it's dry, it's a pretty easy, about a half-mile drive off the highway to get to this thing, and about a quarter-mile hike from there. And here's a picture of the wall, which is about 200 feet tall, would you say, Phil? Sandstone cliff. And you're walking through a narrow valley, so you got 200 feet of sandstone shooting up on both sides of you. And in the middle of it, right along here, it's fenced off, so it's not too hard to spot once you get there. Up on the wall, there are several Indian
petroglyphs.
Thank you, petroglyphs. What's the word for the things that are etched in the rock? Pictographs. Yeah, these are petroglyphs. These are painted on. They're not pictographs. So they are kind of fading, too. But on the wall, there are several anthropomorph figures, which are kind of human-like, and there's several animal creatures in this one. Now, here's me, just to give it scale. And you can see this creature here. I'm going to get my laser pointer to make this a little bit easier to point out. Yeah, okay. Obviously that's me. I'm not the petroglyph. Here's the head with a kind of a horny point on the top of it, a long neck. Here's one wing. There's a crack in the rock, and this wing continues all the way out here, comes back. Here's one leg, another leg, And then here's the other wing, the neck going down, and the other wing going out this way, and it continues way on. Now I've got another picture that from our safari out there. It was taken by Rob Bracken, who's Mr. Super Shutterbug. This gives you a bit broader. Is Rob out? Yeah, there he is back there. Yeah. See, you're up in lights, man. It's a great picture. Like I said, it's a little bit faded, but here's again is the head. Here's the wing continuing way out here, coming back, leg, wing going way out here. And what's really unique about this is the size of the body, the long neck, the crest on the top. This is not the long pointy crest sticking out to the back like on a pteranodon. It's a point going straight up from the skull, the beak, the long neck, and then the two long legs. Now, have you seen a picture of something that could be like that before? The answer is you did, and I showed it to you. Think about that Quetzalcoatlus. See the crest on the head, the long legs, the size of the body, the long wings? Is it possible? And this thing is called the black dragon because no one's been able to identify it to any known creature. So that's why it's called the black dragon in Black Dragon Canyon. Is it possible that this could be a Quetzalcoatlus type creature? The similarity, the physical similarity is amazing. Doesn't mean that that's what it is, but it is something to give you pause. And if you were a native and you saw something that looked like the size of an F-4 Phantom jet up on the cliff, I don't think I'd hang around and draw pictures of it, but it would definitely make an impression on you, and I'll bet you would draw a picture. Indians tended to draw what they knew. They also drew weird geometric shapes and other things, but they tended to draw what they knew. And I'm going to add another bit to this. This article is fascinating. How many of you heard of the Illustrated London News? Anybody? This article I'm going to read you is from the February 9th, 1856 edition of the Illustrated London News, page 166. I found a copy of the actual publication at the Spencer Research Library at Kansas University. I have a copy of it in my files. And when I had heard about this article, and it took a while to find it, but by golly, I found it. I asked the curator of the museum about this publication. What kind of magazine was it? Because when I read this to you, you're going to think it's a little sensational. But he said that the Illustrated London News had the reputation of Time and Newsweek magazine has today. Reliable news magazines. They might have a biased editorial slant, like Time and Newsweek definitely do, but it has the same reputation of those magazines. Now, this is the article. It says, "Very like a whale," from February 9, 1856. A discovery of great scientific importance has just been made at Culemont, which is in France. Some men employed in cutting a tunnel, which is to unite the St. Dizier and Nancy railways, had just thrown down an enormous block of stone by means of gunpowder and were in the act of breaking it to pieces when from a cavity in it they